And then let's think about the other technology that's running around nowadays, like smart houses. If you have spinal muscular atrophy, ALS, or maybe you were injured in some sort of accident, there is so much technology now that will help you do these things. And from someone who has not been able to get up and move around all the time, sometimes just having somebody, some way for me independently to turn on a light, to ask for help, to switch the doggone channel on the television set or whatever, or adjust the thermostat. That's just wonderful technology that's everywhere nowadays. So, most people that use this technology are not disabled, or locking and unlocking the door. Think about that. Just so that, because putting in a key and turning it, there's a lot of physical ability there. You got to figure out what key it is. You got to get it in the lock. You have to be able to physically be able to turn it when you task analyze things. So when you're thinking about engagement, also think about those pieces. How do you task analyze? And if you couldn't do something, what is it that would make you more independent? So smart
Kathy,
house
I love this idea of, yes, I love the idea about smart house tech in general, right? Like we have developed, a lot of this has been developed not for the user, thinking of the user who has a disability or who has a limitation. It was designed for universally for all, but we found a huge benefit of smart home technology for people with disabilities. And I think about it every day. We have it for putting their Christmas tree lights on, which I'll show in a minute. Just the safety features of that. I don't have my kids going behind the Christmas tree and trying to plug something into an outlet, right? They use Alexa to turn on the Christmas tree. So there's just so many ways we can get creative with smart home technology that it is beneficial for all, right? And it's very engaging. So we'll go into a couple more ideas of this too.
Yeah, and think about it, like Anna said, there's that safety component to it, but also think about it in the fact that I was able to do something like the smart vacuums nowadays. My daughter actually owns one of those things, and it's a great help. She doesn't have a disability, but it's a great help. She can be multitasking, But if you were living on your own, and there are certain things you have to be able to do to be able to live on your own, well, if I can't see, how do I find the dirt? So a smart vac, it's going to do it for you. Or the social component of all of this. Think about all the online gaming, that's done, that you can adjust, the controllers now to work with eye gaze. So as my eyes are darting around the screen, I don't have to use my hands. I can actually play that way. So I could be an interactive person in society, not just someone who may have to be home because of maybe I have an autoimmune disorder or something like that, and I can't get out and about. So, having those social connections is so important too. The FaceTime, kind of things like that, where you can look at the device and it will follow you all around the room. Those are great pieces of technology that were not designed for people with disabilities, but they sure do work well.
All right, so we might have some challenges with some of these videos as well, but you'll see. Some of this, we have the prices there not because we're advocating to go and purchase any of these items, but it doesn't have to be a very expensive tool or strategy either. So thinking about, it says lighting your home magically. How can you control an outlet using Wi-Fi or smart home technology, voice control? So just showing an example of having an outlet, like an outlet plug that's a smart outlet plug connected to an Echo Dot, and being able to control Christmas tree lights, or if you have another holiday you celebrate, some other lighting component, or just your environment, just the lights when you come into a room when you're coming from outside and it's dark in your house. Just so many, being able to respond to a doorbell that's ringing or a video camera. There's so many ways we can use different types of technology to support us. So then the other one that you'll see in this bottom corner, and Kathy, I don't know if this video will have the sound on it, but those of you who went to Closing the Gap may have seen these gentlemen present as the keynote speakers, but they are from All Access Life. and they go and they talk about their, they do a lot of YouTube videos. So if you follow their channel, all their channel and their website links information about different adaptive equipment. And so they basically rate it and give ideas and like, this works great, this doesn't work so great, this is expensive, this isn't so expensive, but I really found it useful this way. So it's really great for them to talk about how they use these tools functionally as a user who might have some different abilities. And so I encourage you to go check out their reviews and their ratings, because they do it in a very lighthearted, fun way that's very short and quick. So if you're looking at trying something new for a student or a family member, these are great ways to see some of the equipment that's already been tested and give you some ideas. And then that other video on the right is just using Alexa to turn on the lights for the Christmas tree. Just something we tried at our own house. Don't judge the Christmas tree. We have ornaments only on one section, but we are seeing, see that the sound goes this time. I think you could hear the sound a little bit on that. Yeah, so we used to have another light plugged in that same outlet, and we moved it around and put the Christmas tree there. And so the kids are still using the same thing to turn the Christmas tree on and off. So it's just another great tool that, you know, my 2.5-year-old can turn the lights on by himself. And does he feel proud doing that every morning? So thinking about how we're engaging is really important. So.
And just a side note on the All Access Life, and I know it's kind of hard to tell from the still shot here, but the person who's testing these things, he has a disability. So it's like, okay, he cannot physically manipulate little switches, turn things on like the blender or a light switch or something like that. He just doesn't have the motoric ability, but he can live pretty daggone independently because he's able to do these things. I remember a few years ago, if you've never looked at OGCOM devices, they actually have the ability to do radio signals. And if you think about all the radio signals around your house, things like garage doors, like one of her goals as she was an adult was, she goes, I want to get off the bus from work and get into the house by myself. So we had one of the radio buttons on her OGCOM device. We set it to send a radio signal. So when she touched it, it would send that radio signal that opened the garage door. And once the garage door was open, she'd get in the house. You know, it was just a wonderful thing for her. And I know it's like, big deal. It is a big deal, because independence is what we're looking for. Because if you're not engaged, you're not independent at all. And you're just this entity that just kind of hangs out. And what kind of life is that? You know, we want to be engaged in life, you know, whether it's turning on the lights, opening a door, checking the video doorbell. You know, to me, it's huge nowadays. You could find that out. Or, you know, sending your doorbell, maybe you're hearing impaired, to it flashes a light for you. You know, all those pieces of technology. I don't know if you guys have ever done that with your phone. I set my phone to flash. I'm not hearing impaired, but I set my phone to flash when it rings, because I don't want the ringer to interrupt what I'm doing. So especially if I'm in a meeting. So you just have to kind of think differently on what that engagement piece happens to be. So great way to do that. Oops, sorry about that. So let's think about it. It is the holiday season, and you know, that's when this video is being recorded. So think about like all the different things that you have or may have received or given that have more of a universal design for learning aspect to them, more than you ever thought. So if you think about those things, we talked about like Echo Dots, we talked about robot vacuums, but even like a toothbrush. Someone who has a motoric disability and they can't go from side to side, just to be able to brush your own teeth, the daily living skills, I think, are just so important, because it makes us feel like we're important people ourselves and we're independent. And I think that's just a huge component of all this. So just kind of think about that. What's around your house? And the more that you are aware of what's around your house or what's out in the environment, the more easily it will be for you to think differently when it comes to accessing technology for your children in your classrooms or maybe if you're working in a nursing home or something like that. I think about things like there's a product called Beams where it puts a beam of light, and if you break the beam of light, it sends music. It's a great little piece of tech that was designed for DJs, not designed for people with disabilities. So again, think just slightly differently, and you'll be able to find some universal design for learning in everywhere that you're at.
All right, some of you may have seen this before, but I like to just talk about those aha moments in the world of AT. So it doesn't always have to be something special. It doesn't always have to be something novel. So when we think about assistive technology, we want it to be meaningful to our everyday lives. So how can we use that with students, and how can we have them help show us how to use it? So just talking about some of those basic skills, how can we translate that to the classroom or to the school environment? So voice typing on a phone can translate to voice typing on a Google Doc. So how can we use that same skill that we use on a phone on a Google Doc? Voice typing is built into the features in Google Doc, so we can use that to our advantage for a student who may be successful already doing it on their phone. So helping to model that and helping them be the lead and showing you and engaging in that tool and that resource. Searching for a celebrity's Instagram account is like searching for a contact in your email. So how can you be searching for somebody in Instagram, typing in their name, and how can you help find a contact in your email that you might need to email? What's so great in the school systems nowadays is that when we are part of an organization, a lot of times you don't have to know someone's email by heart. You can start to type their name and their email. You'll get some options for some people with that name, so you don't have to know it all by heart. But how can we use that to our advantage? And YouTube, how amazing is YouTube in so many ways? Sometimes too distracting, but so many ways amazing too, right? If we don't know how to do something, how can we use YouTube? I was trying to show my mom how to use my coffee pot at my home when I was out of town. And it was like, oh gosh, I'm trying to explain the buttons virtually over the phone. And how can I make this easier? I just sent her a YouTube video. She watched it for a couple of minutes and was like, oh, that's where all the buttons are. They didn't light up the same way I thought they should. So it was just really nice to just thinking about different ways we can engage people and help teach and train and share that learning. And then also Siri or Alexa, how amazing is that? So when we talk about searching Google, how can we use just a voice search? How can we ask Siri? How can we ask Alexa? How can we think about those voice resources for searching Google? And how can we have students show us? A lot of times they're doing these things every day, using text prediction on their phones, when they're trying to type a text message. So how can we use these resources to help engage our students, and how can we have them help engage other students around them? We don't always have to be the one who is leading everything. They can help it be the ones who can lead and share what they know too. And a lot of times they'll be more engaged if they can have a lot of say in that. So just remembering that it's something that can be a part of our everyday lives, that could be the ticket to, like Kathy was saying, engaging in a dog, engaging in a hair dryer, using a hair dryer, and all these things that are meaningful in one environment can be meaningful in others. So just be really mindful of that context and how you can support it.
And Anna raises such a great point there too, when you think about if you can show a student that, look, you used your voice to ask for the Packers score last night or whatever it happened to be. You could also use your voice to help you with this assignment. So helping those kids make those connections as to, oh, I guess I can do that. And us allowing them to do that too are two just great, ways for that student to be more independent and successful. So just help them make those connections. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. And this is just a great resource page. We probably have more resources we probably should have added from here because there's so many of there, but so feel free to go through the presentation. But one that we like to just mention is that CAST research evidence. So CAST in general, cast.org is a great website, but there's the link here is all the research evidence about universal design for learning. So if people are hesitant to say, well, that's not really in the research, you're just making up how students should engage. I would challenge that, right? Here's some great resources and some good scientific background to why UDL is so important and why we need to make it a part of what we do as educators. And then there's also a short video if you want to share a short video on UDL and find out a little bit more background just on the actual definition and the background and how you represent it. how you help students express it, and how you really engage. And then that third one, Kathy, if you can click on that too, that community of practice for UDL in Wisconsin, this one is just a really great resource to go back to and think about. This is how you can sign up for their newsletters and subscribe as well. But this is kind of the other link with our work as far as the AT Forward project. So they have a UDL project in the state of Wisconsin that they're really bringing some community of practice together as well. They have shared all their information here, but there is a lot of good information. And you can feel free to contact them and reach out for more support. But if you feel that you really want to dive into UDL and think about it as far as a bigger level with even in your school system or in your school, great place to start and really gather that information. So feel free to connect there. And then I think Kathy also shared that Shelly Moore, that 5 minutes. So there's a ton of 5-minute short little videos that Shelly does that are just great ideas about inclusion, assessment, how are you supporting the classroom curriculum, just thinking about our learners and helping them develop and become those expert learners we want them to be. That's really our goal. So she's really great and shows a lot of great ideas.
And again, these little 5-minute videos that she has, and she has, here's her 5-minute video library that she has put together, all her different seasons that she has. And think about these for your little meetings that you're having, or if you're trying to grow an assistive technology or UDL team, or like in my school district, we actually put the two together. We had an assistive tech UDL team because it just made sense to bring everything together. These are great ways to get people talking. One of the things that I say all the time with assistive tech is, let's just start that conversation. Start a conversation so we can move assistive technology forward. If you don't do that, you're never going to get forward for anything. And Shelly Moore is just a fun way to do that. She's going to give you some great information. But we thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and we hope that you got some great information. Please feel free to reach out. Our emails are linked in the presentation. So if you have more questions or concerns or clarifications you want, please feel free to reach out to us. And just remember to look around in your environment. There's more in our environment that could be used to help our students. We just have to think just slightly differently. And as you've hopefully gleaned from our presentation, it's an okay thing to do. And universal design for learning, assistive tech, engagement will not only engage your students, but it'll help bring them more and more independent. And that's what we want. We want our students to learn, and we want them to become independent learners. So thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed our time together.
Thank you. Have a great day.